Okay, sorry about that, Nick. I meant to cue you, and I forgot to cue you. Actually, I was just... I had to click on a couple of buttons here that I had neglected to click on. Anyway, so... okay, Nick, I'm cueing you now, Nick. You could bring us in now. We're on live, by the way.
All right. Welcome to the Nick and Joe Show, folks. I'm Nick. He's Joe. And we're broadcasting from several locations tonight. One in our flagship station here in Killaloe on CHR Radio, and the other one in the nation's capital with Joseph Benamy in the studio there.
Okay, and Nick, just to let you know, we are getting that feedback through your mic because you've got the volume up.
I'm working on it.
Okay, so...
There, fixed.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. Oh, and the little app on my phone just popped up and said, the score is 0-0.
There you go.
Oh, I didn't even have to set that up, Nick. It's working just perfectly fine. Anyway.
Of course it is. What do you expect?
It is, yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as Nick said, I'm Joe. Welcome to the Nick and Joe Show. For July the 7th, we've got quite a show lined up for you tonight. But before we start, let's do our regular housekeeping stuff. If you are listening to the show online, that is to say on the internet, and you want to join into our chat live, because we usually have a very lively chat room, you could do so by clicking on the chat bubble or the comment bubble, however you describe it, on the player that you're listening to the show on. And if you have never registered before, you will have to register. If you are registered but haven't signed in, you probably will have to sign in. That's to ensure that you're a real flesh human being. There's no cost to it, ladies and gentlemen. We never share your personal information, nor do any of our technical partners. So now that we've got all of that out of the way, what do you say, Nick? Well, listen, we have to say one or two quick words about the hockey game and where things are going right now.
I know how Tampa feels.
What do you mean?
Well, Toronto had them down 3-0 and 3-1 too, as well.
It wasn't 3-0; it was 3-1.
Yes.
So,
and where are they now?
I think they're playing golf somewhere.
No, I meant where's the standings now? I know where the Leafs are. They're off bass fishing, but if they're smart. But the problem is that we have a situation now where the Leafs, the Tampa Bay Lightning are in the same position the Leafs were. All they have to do is win once. But doggone it, this team just seems to have the ability to fight back through adversity, unlike any team I've ever seen. They've got to beat Tampa, arguably the best team on the planet, 3 more times in order to win this.
Well,
and
they are.
If any team can do it,
it's this team. Yeah. Well, they've faced elimination now five times, and they've won all 5 games. So is it 5? 1, 2, 3 with Toronto. And one with so 4 times, I think. Anyway, bottom line is this: they just have this uncanny. They've had this uncanny ability to just stick around, which of course I'm happy with because I'm a Montreal fan anyway. But yeah, so it's interesting, and I know some of you guys out there who are listening to the show live are tempted only a little bit, because I know how much you guys like listening to us. So what we're going to do is, as a public service, we will update you on the score as we have score updates. So you can rest assured that you will not miss any of the important aspects of the game while you're listening to us and getting an important education in public affairs, current affairs, news, and whatever else comes to as our promo says, whatever else comes to our overactive imaginations. All right. So, as I said, we had quite a show for you lined up tonight. So, why don't we get into it, Nick?
That's a very good idea. Why don't we get into it, Joseph? Where do you want to go first?
I'm just going to ask you, Nick, maybe you could just turn your gain down a little bit. Your mic is a little bit hot.
Okay. Is that better?
I think it is. Anyway, so
Okay.
where do we want to go first? You choose, Nick.
Well, why don't we discuss the appointment, the Trudeau's most recent appointment to the chair of Governor General?
Okay, you mean?
And
Hold on now. Come on. Now, let's get this right, Nick. Okay. What
I
we're
said
talking
Governor
about?
General.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. It's Her Majesty the Queen's appointment. Okay, on the advice of the Prime Minister. I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff. As you know, I'm a monarchist.
Yes, you are.
And but yeah, and we have a new Governor General in Canada.
We do, and she is the first.
Aboriginal.
I'm trying to think of the right phrase. Okay, Aboriginal, First Nations. It wasn't that I didn't know what to say.
No, I knew.
It's just I want to make sure I had the right.
She is Inuk, I believe is the term, and which we used to fall under the catch-all category of Eskimo, which I understand now is considered to be derogatory, which is funny because I could still find Aboriginal northern communities that have their own magazines and newspapers and promotional material where they refer to themselves as Eskimos, but we're not allowed to use that term anymore, so much so that the Edmonton Eskimos, the fabled Canadian Football League Edmonton Eskimos, are now the Edmonton Elks. Elks. And
you know what? Let's save that for another show.
Yeah, we will.
That's another mind melter.
Okay, you're quite right.
Talk about spinelessness.
So,
but this individual, her name is Mary Simon, chosen by and recommended by our glorious leader. Actually, this falls into the category of even a blind hog finds an acorn once in a while. Because if you look at his past choices for everything from the Senate to the former Governor General, he doesn't normally make good ones. And in this particular case, I think it may be, and it's not that I'm thinking about the Truth and Reconciliation or any of that stuff. This woman has fought government on behalf of that particular segment of the population since Pierre Elliott Trudeau the First. And back in 1980, 81, 82, she was in a verbal fight with him about making sure that the men of her community could pass on their heritage, but the women couldn't. And that was like if they married someone who was non-Aboriginal, that was it. They didn't get a chance to pass on their heritage. Now, so she's been fighting that fight for a long time. But aside from that, she's also very well read, very smart, and is, by all accounts, a really solid individual. And for once, I think he might have made a good choice. Time will tell. We'll know soon enough. But at the moment, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to cut her some slack, and let's see how she performs. Because the Governor General role is an important one. It's a significant one. And I know there's a lot of people out there who think, why do we have a Governor General? And part of the answer is because we can't get rid of it. We can't just get rid of the Governor General. The Constitution does not allow for that. But on the other side of the coin, there is also a very important symbolic role that they play. And symbolism in a democracy like ours means a lot. That's why we have a flag as an example. Why do we fly a red and white flag on top of the Peace Tower? Because it symbolizes the country. I mean, anyway, so symbolism plays a big role, and so does the Governor General's position. So I think it's going to be an interesting, let's give her 6 months to a year and see where we are this time next year and what she's done, because it didn't take the last one long to stick her foot in her mouth and make a mess of things. So we'll see. And I'm willing to give her the time to be able to step up or fall apart. We'll see.
Now, you mentioned the controversy about the whether or not the heritage could be passed on, and I'm just having just a little bit of difficulty sort of with the language around that. So just by way of clarification, so you're referring, I assume, to the legal status as an Aboriginal. In other words, you happen to be a member of a particular Aboriginal community, so you have your status card that identifies you as a member of this community. And when a male married a woman who was not a member of that community, their offspring would still inherit the status of the father.
Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, but if a woman who was a status Indian, let's say, married a man who was not, then the offspring of that marriage would lose the status, correct?
Yeah, that's right. They were not able to pass their heritage on to their children if they married a non-native.
Right. Well, I was having trouble with the term heritage, actually, because I suppose you could still pass your heritage on. Without passing the status on. So that's I just wanted to clarify.
Maybe status is a better word than heritage.
Okay. So do you recall what was the outcome of that particular battle, Nick? Did she win ultimately?
Ultimately, I believe she did.
Right.
But Trudeau, the original, said, "I wish you'd get it out of your head that we're trying to attack and undermine the Aboriginals of Canada." And she fought back. She said, "That's exactly what you're doing, and you're trying to undermine our communities and so on." And ultimately, I think she did win that fight. I didn't read the article all the way to the bottom. It was a National Post article, and they tend to be a little windy.
Right.
But the general consensus was that whether she won it or not, if she didn't win it, she's certainly in a position to do something about it now. And I haven't heard of anybody saying, I wish I could pass my status on to my kids from the Aboriginal community, from the female perspective. So my gut instinct is she won that fight, and I'm willing to say that in this point in our history, very much like it's time. It was okay, to have someone who was a black president, even though that was. I don't want to give Barack Obama any more credit than absolutely necessary, but he was their first black president, and in a country that actually it's said of Bill Clinton quite often too. But from a realistic point of view, Obama was their first black president, and the time had come for that to happen. Was he the best representation of that? No. Was he a good president? No. But he was the first one. So that way, I think in our own way, we're kind of mimicking that. Am I saying this right? I think so. That it's time for us to accept the fact that these people are certainly important to our past. They've played a huge role in shaping our history, and deserve a symbolic post like this.
Sure, or a substantial posts as well, and certainly we have a number of Aboriginal Canadians who are in the House of Commons right now, and are representing their constituencies, and by that I don't mean their Aboriginal constituencies, although I would expect that they would be good representatives of those constituencies as well. But I'm saying their electoral districts. Quite well. I'm one of those people that really, I don't care one way or the other. I do appreciate the sentiment that you're expressing right now, Nick, and I could very easily make the case and say, yeah, it's a nice thing and it's about time, and it would be nice if at some point in time, we had an Aboriginal Prime Minister. Pardon me, an Aboriginal Prime Minister. On a certain level, it would be nice, but on another level, my personal feeling is I don't care when it comes to this kind of stuff. I really am. I'm colorblind. I'm language blind to a degree, and I'm I'm ethnicity and race blind as well. So good for her. Congratulations. From everything I've heard, she's a woman of great intellect, great integrity, and I think that she will be